the concept of afterlife across cultures. Talking about the afterlife brings with it a sense of mystery, reverence, and even fear for some. For others, it brings comfort and hope. Throughout human history, almost every culture and religion has developed some understanding of what happens after death. These beliefs are not just about the end of physical life. They shape the way people live, how they treat others, and how they relate to the divine. This discussion is not about proving which belief is right or wrong. It's about exploring the various ways people around the world have understood life after death, and perhaps finding in those beliefs some shared longing for meaning, justice, and peace beyond this life. Reincarnation in Hinduism. In Hinduism, the afterlife is not seen as a final destination, but rather a continuation of a long, often cyclical spiritual journey. Central to Hindu belief is the concept of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Every soul, or Atman, passes through this cycle, being born into new lives according to the principle of karma, which is the spiritual law of cause and effect. If a person lives righteously, performs good deeds, and follows their dharma, their duty, they may be reborn into a better life. Conversely, negative actions can lead to rebirth in more difficult circumstances. The ultimate goal is to break free from this cycle altogether and achieve moksha, or liberation. Moksha represents the soul's union with Brahman, the ultimate reality, and freedom from the cycle of reincarnation. This belief offers a continuous opportunity for growth and spiritual development. Life after death is not seen as a judgment, but as a process of refinement and eventual transcendence. Rebirth and nirvana in Buddhism. Buddhism, which grew out of the Hindu tradition, shares the belief in reincarnation and karma, but it frames the journey in a slightly different way. The idea of a permanent soul is less central in Buddhism. Instead, it speaks of anatta, or non-self, suggesting that what continues from life to life is not a fixed identity, but a stream of consciousness shaped by desires and actions. In Buddhist teaching, suffering, dukkha, is a fundamental part of human experience, caused by attachment and ignorance. The goal is to follow the Eightfold Path, cultivate wisdom, and ultimately achieve nirvana, a state of liberation from suffering and the cycle of rebirth. For Buddhists, the afterlife is not a place in the typical sense, but rather a shift in existence. One might be reborn in various realms, human, animal, heavenly, or even hellish, depending on karma. Yet the ultimate aim is not to be reborn in a better place, but to escape the cycle entirely and reach enlightenment, heaven and hell in Christianity. In Christian belief, the afterlife is often framed in terms of final judgment, where a person's eternal destiny is determined by their faith and actions during life. Christianity teaches that every soul continues after death in a conscious state, either in communion with God or in separation from Him. Heaven is described as a place of eternal peace, joy, and worship in the presence of God. The Book of Revelation speaks of a new heaven and a new earth where there is no more pain, death, or sorrow. It is a place of restoration and perfection where believers are reunited with God and with one another. Hell, by contrast, is depicted as a place of separation from God, a result of rejecting His grace and love. Interpretations of hell vary within Christianity. Some view it as a literal place of torment, while others see it more metaphorically, as the anguish of being eternally cut off from the source of life and love. A unique aspect of Christianity is the emphasis on salvation through grace. The afterlife is not earned by good deeds alone, but is received through faith in Jesus Christ, who is seen as the Savior and Redeemer of humanity. The Islamic vision of the afterlife Islam also teaches a clear belief in life after death, with a strong emphasis on divine judgment. According to Islamic teaching, each person will be resurrected on the Day of Judgment and held accountable for their actions, beliefs, and intentions. The Quran describes paradise, Jannah, as a place of beauty, peace, and reward. Gardens beneath which rivers flow, where people are free from pain and suffering. Those who have believed in God, followed His guidance, and done righteous deeds will enter this paradise. Hell, Jahannam, on the other hand, is a place of punishment for those who denied God, lived unjustly, or turned away from righteousness. However, many Islamic scholars also speak of God's mercy, emphasizing that divine compassion can extend even to those who faltered if they sincerely seek forgiveness. What stands out in Islam is the balance between hope and accountability. The afterlife is a reality to be prepared for, not just through rituals, but through justice, compassion, and a life lived with integrity. Ancient Egyptian beliefs. In ancient Egypt, the afterlife was central to spiritual life and social order. Egyptians believed in an eternal soul, K, that lived on after physical death. However, that life was not automatic. It required moral living and preparation. The famous weighing of the heart ceremony, as depicted in the Book of the Dead, involved the heart of the deceased being weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter, the soul would proceed to a blessed afterlife in the field of reeds. If not, it would be devoured by a monstrous creature, ending its existence. This belief system encouraged people to live with honesty and reverence for the gods, knowing that their eternal fate hung in the balance. Indigenous views of the afterlife. Across many indigenous cultures, the afterlife is deeply connected to nature, ancestors, and the spiritual world. For example, in many Native American traditions, death is not the end, but a return to the spirit world, a place where one joins ancestors and continues to watch over the living. Some tribes speak of crossing a river, walking a path, or entering the great hunting grounds. These journeys reflect the belief that the spirit continues on, often in a world that mirrors the beauty and harmony of Earth. In Australian Aboriginal culture, the dream time connects the spiritual and physical realms. Death is seen as a transition, and ancestors remain active in guiding the community. The afterlife is not just about individual reward or punishment. It's about the continuity of life and the sacred relationship between land, people, and spirit. Secular and modern perspectives. Not everyone believes in a spiritual afterlife. In modern secular thought, many see death as the end of consciousness. For some, that realization brings a deepened appreciation for life, motivating them to live fully and compassionately in the present. Others draw comfort from legacy, the idea that we live on through the impact we've made, the memories of our loved ones, or the contributions we've left behind. In some modern spiritual movements, there is an openness to concepts like energy transformation, universal consciousness, or even past lives, without strict adherence to traditional religion. These beliefs often blend science, philosophy, and spirituality in the search for meaning, a shared human longing. Though the beliefs vary, what they all seem to point to is a deep, shared human longing, that death is not the end, that justice, peace, and reunion are possible, that love and spirit endure beyond the grave. Whether through the cycle of rebirth, the hope of heaven, or the quiet mystery of spiritual continuity, humanity continues to reach beyond death in search of something greater. That longing connects us across continents, cultures, and faiths. Whatever your own beliefs may be, there's something profound in recognizing that we are all grappling with the same questions about what it means to live well, to die well, and to hope for something beyond. Thank you for joining me in this reflection on the afterlife across cultures. If this message resonated with you or helped you see something in a new light, I'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe. We'll continue exploring topics like this, quietly, respectfully, and thoughtfully. Until next time, take care of your soul and take care of each other.